Margaret Williams shuffled through the glass doors of First National Bank, her worn leather handbag clutched tightly in her weathered hands. At 78, she moved slowly but with purpose, her simple floral dress and faded cardigan drawing immediate attention from the impeccably dressed clientele waiting in the marble lobby. Behind the polished mahogany counter, bank employee Derek Morrison rolled his eyes as he watched the elderly woman approach. At 28, Derek had worked his way up to senior account manager and prided himself on maintaining the bank's exclusive atmosphere. He straightened his designer tie and whispered to his colleague, "Here comes another one of those people wasting our time with their pocket change." Margaret approached Derek's window with a gentle smile. "Good morning, young man. I'd like to make a withdrawal, please." Derek barely looked up from his computer screen. "Ma'am, this is First National Bank, not a community credit union. Our minimum account balance is $50,000. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the branch down the street?" "Oh, I have an account here," Margaret said softly, reaching into her handbag for a crumpled piece of paper. "Account number 4471-8829-3367. Derek sighed dramatically and typed the numbers with obvious irritation, expecting to see a small savings account with maybe a few $100s. His fingers froze above the keyboard as the screen loaded. His face went pale, then flushed red as he stared at the impossible numbers displayed before him. Account balance: $2,847,392,156.73. Derek blinked hard, certain the system had malfunctioned. He refreshed the screen 3 times, but the number remained unchanged. Nearly $3 billion. More money than the bank's entire asset portfolio. There must be some mistake," Derek stammered, his voice cracking like a teenager's. Margaret's gentle smile never wavered. "No mistake, dear. I'd like to withdraw $50,000, please. Cash." Word spread quickly through the bank as Derek frantically called his supervisor, then the branch manager, then the regional director. Within minutes, executives in $1,000 suits were emerging from corner offices, their faces a mixture of panic and disbelief. Branch manager Patricia Caldwell rushed to the counter, nearly tripping over her Louboutin heels. "Mrs. Williams, I am so terribly sorry for any inconvenience. Derek is still learning our procedures. Please allow me to handle your transaction personally in our VIP suite." Margaret shook her head gently. "That won't be necessary. I'm quite comfortable here. But I do have one more request." She paused, her eyes twinkling with quiet amusement. "I'd like to close all of my accounts and transfer my funds to Mercy Community Bank across the street. They've always treated me with such kindness when I visit their ATM." The color drained from every banker's face in the vicinity. Patricia's hands trembled as she calculated the devastating impact. Losing nearly $3 billion would bankrupt their branch within hours. The federal regulators would shut them down before lunch. "Mrs. Williams, please, let's discuss this reasonably," Patricia pleaded, sweat beading on her forehead despite the air conditioning. "What can we do to make this right?" Margaret looked directly at Derek, who was now visibly shaking behind the counter. "Young man, 43 years ago, I walked into this very bank as a 19-year-old girl with my first paycheck from cleaning offices downtown. The teller that day told me I didn't belong here either. Do you know what I did?" Derek couldn't speak, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "I decided to prove him wrong. I saved every penny, invested wisely, started businesses, and built an empire. All while being told I didn't belong in boardrooms, investment meetings, or places like this." Margaret's voice remained soft, but her words carried the weight of decades. "I've owned this bank's stock for 27 years. In fact, I own 12% of it." The revelation hit the room like a physical blow. Margaret Williams wasn't just a wealthy customer. She was one of their major shareholders. She had the power to influence board decisions, executive appointments, and operational policies. Derek's career flashed before his eyes as he realized he had just insulted and dismissed one of the bank's most powerful investors. His legs gave out and he sank into his chair, his face now ghost-white. However, Margaret continued, her voice brightening, I believe in second chances. Derek, isn't it? She looked at his nameplate. I was young and foolish once too. The difference is I learn from my mistakes. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a business card. I'm opening a financial literacy center in the community center downtown. We need someone to teach young people about banking, respect, and the value of treating every customer with dignity. The pay pays well, and you'd be helping kids who look just like I did 43 years ago. Derek stared at the card in shock, unable to process the unexpected mercy being offered. The choice is yours, young man. You can continue working here, always wondering when I might decide to move my investments elsewhere, or you can take this opportunity to make a real difference in your community. Margaret's eyes sparkled with the wisdom of someone who had turned every slight into strength, every closed door into motivation to build her own. Patricia watched in amazement as the elderly woman who had been dismissed as a nobody just minutes ago revealed herself as someone who could shut down their branch with a single phone call, yet chose instead to offer redemption.
Margaret collected her $50,000 in cash, placed it carefully in her worn handbag, and headed toward the exit. At the door, she turned back one final time. Derek, honey, the position starts Monday if you want it. And next time someone walks through those doors, remember, you never know who you're really talking to. As the glass doors closed behind her, the entire bank stood in stunned silence, watching through the windows as Margaret Williams walked slowly across the street to Mercy Community Bank, where the young teller greeted her with a warm smile and helped her with her transaction without a single question about whether she belonged there. Derek looked down at the business card in his shaking hands, then at his computer screen still displaying those impossible numbers. For the first time in his career, he understood that wealth wasn't just about money. It was about character, dignity, and the wisdom to lift others up rather than tear them down. The next Monday morning, Derek Morrison traded his designer suit for casual clothes and walked through the doors of the Margaret Williams Financial Literacy Center, ready to teach young people the most important lesson he had ever learned. Respect costs nothing, but its absence can cost everything.